Some may find the following disturbing. Discretion is advised.
They're back.
Yeah, oh yeah, oh. Yeah. Nah. A Bears ballroom, they're the ones that fight for truth. Every week on 100 proof, even if the Bears win or lose. A Bears ballroom, they're the ones that fight for truth. Every week on 100 proof, no matter if the Bears win or lose. Yo, first, the smartest man, no tweets he's ever missing. Impossible, the mission, call out frauds with precision. My Bears 100 proof, these cases number one Adora. Slaying dumb tweets, cross-eyed like Kadora. Never wonder back down, should be calling a fraud. Our dumbest tweets of the week, the mailman goes all out. Cheers, Bears fans. The fire Puerto Rican barkeeping for Chicagoland. He's the godfather, the one, the real producer. Always keeping the show together with the voice that will seduce you. Biscuit now, the Firefox, the old timer never stops. IPA, drafts, malts, craft spark, he takes the shots.
No deny.
All flies appreciated worldwide. Canada, Scotland, England, Brazil, Mexico, and Dubai. Dr. Phil is the guy, the one to realize that the barroom needed a show with an endless shoot supply. Go big coat for the narrative on color. Brought the Jasons and get paid for Mitchell. Now I'm the usher. Standing up for the truth, 100 proof with the guys. Almost burned off the show, but I came back for the ball flies. Flies. Fuck a fraud in his keyboard, Twitter, tough guys surround us. Raining truth on the Bears worldwide, barflies astound us. This is the number one pod, that's the reality of the truth. And if you don't know us by now, Bears 100 proof. A Bears ballroom, they're the ones that fight for truth. Every week on 100 proof, even if the Bears win or lose. A Bears ballroom, they're the ones that fight for truth. Every week on 100 proof, 100 no matter if the Bears win or lose.
The NFC North 2018 Division Champions.
They're the ones that fight for truth. Yo, every week on 100 proof, even if the Bears win or lose. You know, MC for a Bears ballroom, they're the ones that fight for truth. Every week on 100 proof, no matter if the Bears win or lose.
And they win the NFC North.
You know you got to feel it. You got to feel it.
Cheers, Bears fans! This is Bears 100 Proof, and welcome to a very special edition of 100 Proof. This is our NFL Draft Release Show, focusing, of course, on the Chicago Bears, and we've had this planned, for about 60 minutes now. That's when we came up with the idea, or Phil came up with the idea and said, hey, why don't we go live and talk about the NFL schedule? So that's why you have not heard that we were coming. We did not promote this. This is a pop-up viral special, for lack of a better way of putting it. But we're very glad that we've got dozens of people in and more coming into the bar room to help us analyze the NFL schedule. Phil, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great, man. Saturday, the day before Mother's Day. Let's go live. Let's take that chance. Let's do it.
It's a great idea on your part.
We said maybe, we need to talk a little bit about the schedule as well as the controversy, Aldo, even more with Deshaun Watson speaking on something that we talked about, I believe, first on 100 Proof months ago, how Ryan Pace, as you put it, was football neglectful and not sitting down and putting that last element, that last piece where we, have had guests on here and you come away saying, wow, that's someone you really want on your team, leading your team. And Deshaun goes out and says that he never spoke to the Bears. And it's caused this huge, not only race thing going on, but also a huge issue in regards to what is true and what is not true because of the Rich Eisen audio. So I figured we'd talk about both these topics and showcase what we're going to do here on 100 Proof and just pop up live and go and get after it. Right, Shane?
That's right. Hey, this is what we're all about here, Phil, right? You just sent me a text. Aldo popped in and we're like, let's do this. But yeah, man, this is awesome. This is what we need. We need a little bit of release from everything that's going on in the real world schedule coming out. And we're going to sit here and chop it up a little bit, like you like to say, with these fans and then just go from there.
Hey, give them a little lower third. Aldo.
Lower
third.
I'll give you.
You got to know who we are. I mean, I know Berlissimo knows who we are. And Kevin Janowski. There you go. There we go. Now we're doing it. Anyway, you wanted to add something to this, Aldo, right?
Did I? I don't know. Regarding the issue with Ryan Pace.
Yeah.
Well, let me go back in time because I was actually trying to find this clip, and it's so hard to find clips that are particularly from 4 or 5 years ago. I was listening to some of our first shows. Right. Boy, oh boy, have we come a long way. But in any case, I recall when Lauren Cox was a part of Bears Barroom, you, Phil, and Lauren talking about the fact that Mitchell Trubisky was being ranked the best quarterback of that upcoming draft over Mitchell Trubisky, and you guys said, this is about race. So it's in the
audio. It's in the audio history that two white boys were on this show questioning this topic.
Exactly.
And I'm putting my name to this because I was there with Lauren saying there's something fishy here in regards to what I'm seeing on the tape. It's weird because me and Shane were going back. And Shane, you have some freaking great tweets. I don't know if you could send it to Aldo and he puts them right up, or we want to save that for Wednesday, but I think it's time right now because all these analysts rank their players and then they go into hiding. And then they talk as if, this is what they said and Mitch sucks. How could Ryan Pace do this? In fact, our boy right here, the smartest man in the bar room, called out Dan Durkin and reminded him, hey, wait a second, Dan, before you take your shot at Ryan Pace, here's what you said as an analyst and writer. So I know what I said. I know I stand by my rankings and have said it before. I cheer for the jersey. So they made their decision on Mitch. I had Watson, Mahomes, I had Kaiser third, and then I would have put Chad Kelly over Trubisky, but the off-field issues with Kelly, obviously, were so pronounced. But Mitch Trubisky was fourth. And that's no shot at Mitch, but Bucky Brooks, Shane, all of them.
I got the list here if you want to go over it. Everybody's favorite PFF. This is their rankings, right? This is their last quarterback rankings pre-draft. Number 1, Mitchell Trubisky. Number 2, Deshaun Watson. Number 3, Patrick Mahomes. Number 4, Deshaun Kaiser. Number 5, Nathan Peterman. That's PFF, who likes to strike whenever they can at Chicago. That was their final rankings at quarterback. Mitch Trubisky, number 1.
Next.
Daniel Jeremiah, Trubisky, number 1. Bucky Brooks, Trubisky, number 1. Chad Reuter, Trubisky, number 1. Lance Zierlein, Trubisky, number 1. Charlie Casserly, Trubisky. Mike Mayock, Trubisky. Mel Kiper, Louis Riddick, Peter Schrager, Todd McShay, Matt Miller, Peter King, Evan Asshole Silva, Jason Lockenfora, Jonathan Tulls, and Luke Easterling. Mitch Trubisky, number 1.
So every one of them picked Trubisky number 1. And Shane could send that visual over to Aldo on Slack, and because he has it on a text, you have it broken down perfectly. And you could see we're not making this up. And this isn't like going back. I just want to show the point to give some relevance to what Aldo's saying, that me and Lauren were insinuating and assuming that, wait a second, look at all these boxes Deshaun Watson has checked. How is he not number one? I really feel like there's some sort of discrimination and bias there. That was really, me standing up for my truth there. And I still stand to that. And then to see what came out later, and I remember vividly because it was before video, but we could see each other, and Aldo getting amped up when we found out that Ryan Pace did not sit down face to face, man to man with Deshaun Watson and talk to him. Now, I just want to clarify one thing about Watson in the audio tape. He says the Bears he talked to. He didn't say GM Ryan Pace he talked to. So I don't get how you're doing your job, Ryan Pace, and not meeting with Deshaun Watson. Whether you don't like him on film or whatever, you need to sit down with the person. If you got a phone call, that's not good enough. And I think Shane will agree with me. And I know, Aldo, you agree with me.
I think what's important here is you have to look at this in the context of being a lawyer, really, because the way that everything is worded, Deshaun Watson came out and said the Bears never, I never talked to the Bears. Well, we found out that that's not exactly true because Deshaun Watson came out himself on the Rich Eisen show and said that he didn't meet with the Bears, but he had a phone call with the Bears. But even which, just take that for what it's worth. I don't care if you decided on Mitch Trubisky in November of 2016 or December of 2016 to not do your due diligence by meeting with every single one of these guys and hey, they had Pat Mahomes ranked ahead of Deshaun Watson, and that's fine. They obviously had Mitch Trubisky number one. I'm not going to justify that, but that's what their ranking was. And for them to just dismiss this kid, I think that I'm not buying the race thing whatsoever. I think that's just ridiculous. I mean, Roddy White made himself look like a fool for what he tweeted out, saying that the Bears are trash and the Bears fans never would have supported Deshaun Watson, and they ain't never had a black quarterback in my lifetime, which is not true because Jason Campbell was here, Henry Burris was here, Cordell Stewart was here.
My boy Jeff Blake.
Jeff Blake was another one the Bears brought in. The kid from Florida, Chris Leak, was on the Bears preseason roster. But to me, this is not a race thing whatsoever. I don't think Deshaun Watson is in Chicago because I don't think that the Bears believed in his medical history. I don't think that they believed that he was going to hold up. And I think that that's what it comes down to. Still doesn't mean that you don't sit down with this kid multiple times if you have to. All three of these guys.
All right.
There's no way of justifying not sitting down face to face with Deshaun Watson and talking. And, another thing that's getting lost in translation, just because the Bears were at Clemson's pro day doesn't mean that they met or talked to Deshaun Watson.
Right.
Just because they were there doesn't mean that they talked to him. They could talk to the head coach. That's fine. It doesn't mean that they met with Deshaun. So you have to really choose how you're going to, focus in on what words, because that's what's going to really, really tell the story here. But no matter what, at the end of the day, the Bears had Mitch number one on their board, and to not meet with Deshaun Watson at the very least, with all the time that you have leading up from your last game in January to the draft, the end of April, beginning of May, it's malpractice. It's GMing malpractice every way you want to slice it.
So there's several things at play here. There is did they talk to him or did they not talk to him? There's that whole game. We've unveiled that before. And Shane, you put a nice bow on it. It's negligence on their part to not sit down, especially if you've made your decision, like you said, in November, December, or whatever. You had whether they made the right choice or not, I'm still at that place where we don't know yet. Mitch could go out there and change the whole narrative. Zimmerman saying Watson ain't going to be the same because he lost his key piece in Hopkins getting traded out of town. Well, we don't know that. Just like we don't know.
It's a legit point that Zim is making, but we also don't. You just don't know how it's going to play out. Like I was at a little back and forth with Chubbs last night about it, and he's like, "Well, Mitch is going to come out and prove everybody wrong." That I hope he's right. I do.
We all do.
Doesn't mean just because you're trying to speak it into existence that it's going to happen.
I think a lot of people, again, this isn't to credit us. It's more to say we have a responsibility. Our name is to it. So we're sitting there. Anybody could say, I said it way back in November that Mitch is going to be a star. And yeah, you'll pull out a tweet. You know, Barlissimo has 330,000 mocks. Out of one of them, he's going to get 5 guys right. I'm sorry, Barlissimo. I'm just using you as a joke example here in the reality of how people, it's not about being right. It's about recognizing talent based on the situation that the Bears are in. We said it before, say it again. Mitch has to write his story now. The competition that is essential in every football ingredient that you want to make in this dinner that you're trying to serve here. Because I can't be on the record way back in November, Aldo, on Last Call saying there needs to be competition. I remember specifically one game. I think it was the Oakland game. I can't exactly remember, but I'm like, there's no way this kid is going to overcome this. I specifically remember because he looked battered, abused, let down by the coach. The offensive line was terrible. And it's so bad, the whole structure of it, that I'm like, how is this kid going to overcome this and be the best? And unfortunately, you know, when we had Dan Pompei on and he was talking about Joe Montana being the Bears' choice in the first round, and then he went on to say, well, would Joe Montana be Joe Montana?
Whoops. Yeah. And then they switched it up. Yeah.
Exactly. So if Joe came here, would he be the Joe Montana everybody knows, the Hall of Famer? We don't know. It's the same thing I've always said. It's almost like you're lucky to where you land in a family. You look at it in race. You're lucky where you live in a country. You look at it in that vein, in poverty, or you're born into the fucking Trump family and you got loads of cash. You could do whatever you want. Sometimes in football, where you're drafted, the culture and everything hits just perfectly. Look at Tom Brady. Would he be the same player? Nobody knows. Mitch now knows he's got to face off with Nick Foles. How Deshaun Watson comes into this play was him tweeting that out. So I thought it was very important that we put all of the chips on the table. Ryan Pace needs to have his feet to the fire 100%, not only for being neglectful in interviewing Watson and getting that piece to the puzzle, but also for the selection of what he's selected right now. If he's turncoating, we played the audio on the first video, our very first video show of Wilbon, of all people, saying he feels sorry for Mitch. Well, we've been there on this show, but now the ball's in Mitch's court. This is the dysfunctional football family he's been brought into. We are going to analyze it all the way through. But like I said, I don't think it's fair that Mitch has taken the abuse from the fan base and the people flip-flopping and say they know it. All I know is Mitch has an opportunity. That's all I can believe in my heart and soul. The coach came out and spoke it, Aldo. He said, there is going to be quarterback. I guess the GM was on 670 this week, and he believes in Mitch, according to his word. That's all we can do and believe, right? Do you believe him?
What
No.
else is he supposed to say?
Right.
It goes back to press conferences after the season. Everyone's, oh my God, they committed to Trubisky. This is ridiculous. I mean, we talked about it. That's why I say press conferences don't matter, because you know what they are? They're 98% lies.
Is more of an interview.
No. But I'm just saying. But what else is he supposed to say? No, I don't believe in Mitch at all. But I'm going to keep him on my roster, and we'll hope for the best. They're not going to say that. That's never going to happen.
If it is, it's got to be a true competition.
Yeah, but I'm saying of course
they
it needs
get
to be.
These guys out.
It needs to be a true competition. I'm not saying it doesn't need to be, but quit hanging on every goddamn word these guys say in an interview or, we really love what Leonard's bringing. There was people out on Twitter that were talking about wanting to extend Leonard Floyd and giving him $45 million guaranteed. Ryan Pace, yeah, we really like what Leonard brings to us. Yeah, we know what we're talking about. Everybody's,
oh my God.
Yeah, but whatever. Ryan Pace, we believe in Leonard. Boom, Leonard's gone. Robert Quinn is here. It's the same thing. Yeah, we'll see. We expect Trey Burton to be ready. Trey Burton's gone. Don't live and die by every word in a press conference. Actions speak louder than words. Always in the NFL.
This is a great question. Bring Mike Montalto. But there you go, Shane. Answer this question.
No, I don't believe so. I had this talk a little bit out. Greg Gabriel, we had a little exchange on Twitter, and he said that he thinks that he's in the minority and really believes that Mitch is going to have a bounce back year. And I hope so. I'm going to be rooting for Mitch just as much. But Phil, you guys know what I've said every time. I want Mitch to be the guy. I want him to win this job. I want it to be legitimate. I still go back to the time with that comment with Matt Nagy on the sidelines. I really think that let everybody behind the curtain with man the fuck up. I really think it comes down to a comment like that they've tried to pound this into Mitch's head over and over and over again to not overthink things. And I think that's
that comment on the sideline, but I agree with you in regards to.
I'm not saying that that's the be all end all, Phil, but I think it lets you behind the curtain that you have to have it's like being a cornerback. What do they say? You have to have that next play mentality. Right. Quarterback is the same way. And I think that Mitch can move on maybe 50% to the next play, but he's always got that doubt in the back of his head about what he just did or what just went wrong. Right. And that's why he's processing slow. Maybe that's why he's not getting through his progressions just as quick.
Think about this.
I think he's overthinking.
I'm staying on this. Think about this. They coach, and this goes back to my point that he's the number one issue, pulls the whole entire offense out of preseason reps.
Exactly. And what is your court? What did Mitch say about that?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The quarterback you're afraid doesn't know the offense backwards and forwards is not being allowed to run through live bullets to prepare yourself in the game. Even if you're in a game that's a scrimmage, do you know how important goal line situations are or 2-minute offense in those drills? I've said this 100 times on this show. This guy in critical situations, you look back at the Ravens game, the Denver Broncos game last year, the Philadelphia Eagles game in the playoffs. When he's allowed to just be himself and not worry about, just go quick game and get out there.
There you go, Phil. That's
what I'm saying.
That's it. It's Occam's razor. The simplest solution is most likely, the best solution or is the answer. And that's what it is. When Mitch can go out there and things are stripped down and he can play freely without thinking, that's who Ryan Pace sees. That's who he believed in. We just haven't seen it. That's why I think all of the outside thing, that's why Chicago is so tough to play, because the thing about it is if Mitch goes out and balls out, And this is something that Greg Gabriel brought up, and I don't think he would mind me bringing his name up with this because it's 100% true. If Mitch goes out and balls out this year, Chicago media is going to eviscerate the Chicago front office for not picking up his fifth-year option.
No, we will fight
And
back.
exactly.
All
But
of
you
us
know
will
what's going to
fight
happen?
back.
They're going to focus on the low-hanging fruit. That's what that's what the media has done. How many times have they asked Ryan Pace flat out, Ryan, how come you didn't meet face-to-face with Deshaun Watson?
They've never asked.
They don't. Exactly. And then we wonder why. That's why there's this shadow of doubt with everything. They don't come out and ask things flat out. It's JJ essentially alluded to it. Remember when JJ was on with us and he said, yeah, there's been a couple of times where I've asked questions. When I got back home that night, I'm like, oh man, I wish I would have been a little bit more aggressive with that question to get it answered. And you can't listen. I'm not a professional reporter, and I would probably handle a lot of things the wrong way by just being blunt with things. But sometimes that's the only way you're going to get things answered, because even if Ryan Pace isn't going to answer it, you can see his reaction to it. And that's a lot of the time is going to paint the picture for you. Ryan, how come you didn't meet with Deshaun Watson? Well, you know, and he's going to bullshit and go around the point. But it's
Hey guys,
I don't know.
We are a half hour into what was supposed to be a 45-minute show. We still have not talked about week one of the NFL schedule. So I want to move things along. But before I do, I think it's a very, very important point I need to make here, because regarding the issue of race, which we talked about the first 15 minutes of the show, I was, you know, I wasn't expecting anything more or less out of Roddy White. I don't know who he is, but clearly after reading his tweet, he clearly doesn't understand what's going on, and this was a tweet out of ignorance.
Right.
What I was really, really disappointed in was the tweet by John Feinstein, who really kind of stirred the fire here. John Feinstein, for those who don't know, is the author of 32 books, all of them about sports. I believe all of them about sports. He's an award-winning writer, very, very successful. And he made the implication that the Bears did not draft Mahomes or Watson because of race. And there is something called unconscious bias, which is something that you feel more comfortable around certain people. You feel more comfortable having certain people handle certain roles and so forth. You feel more comfortable, you know, inviting these people to a party and not those people and so forth. Unconscious bias. We all have them. We all have them. I know that I have them. So the question, though, is, was Ryan Pace displaying his unconscious bias because he drafted a white quarterback over two African-American quarterbacks and did not take Deshaun Watson out to dinner like he did Mitchell Trubisky and Patrick Mahomes? The answer to me is we don't know for sure, and any insinuation that it was racist or unconscious bias by Ryan Pace to not select one of the two African-American quarterbacks is ridiculous, because you don't have any proof. And to bring it up, particularly on the week that we saw on video an African-American male chased down and shot because of the color of his skin, and now you're bringing this up regarding a white general manager making a player personnel decision, that to me is effed up. You just don't do that. You don't do that, and I am really, really disappointed in Mr. Feinstein for doing that, and he has an open invitation at any time of the day or night to come on here and talk about this reasonably and calmly so that I can better understand what he was trying to do with his insinuation that the Chicago Bears were involved in some kind of unconscious bias or racist decision-making when they made this choice of Mitchell Trubisky over those two African-American quarterbacks. All right. I'll leave the last word to you, Shane, or Phil, whoever you guys want.
Just to go off what you're saying, it's important.
I was going to say he was, first of all, what you just said, bravo to you, because
Right.
That is exactly where I am with this. To be clear, in the beginning of the show, I thought the masses were putting this. I've seen it so many times in my life, and I'm sorry, it is there. This old boys network of analyzing black quarterbacks differently than white one. There's no reason Warren Moon wasn't drafted into the NFL.
Right.
It's a whole nother fucking show. But the reality is he went up to Houston, came back, became a Hall of Famer. And he was the same player. He was there it's going on. It is there. I'm not going to say that it isn't. But what you said in regards to Ryan Pace and the Chicago Bears is completely and utterly the truth. You're so well spoken because we don't know that Ryan Pace is any prejudice in him or whatsoever. And Mahomes is biracial. And people are going to use that too as a joke. And the reality is the issue that we have, or personally I know I have, is that our GM didn't sit down with one of the best all-time college quarterbacks in the history of me watching college football, in Deshaun Watson, and have that sit down that could have possibly changed the mind of a group of men that were all step for step on Mitch Trubisky, as well as the masses that Shane listed off that now have turncoated. Bucky Brooks, Riddick, Lewis Riddick, Daniel Jeremiah, and all of them. I won't say Daniel, but I'll say others are turncoated on Mitch. Now, he was my number one quarterback. You should be standing there, Lance Zierlein, and saying, he needs help, and call out the real issues.
And their out is going to be, I think, if you held their feet to the fire, I think that their easy out is going to be, well, I based that off of what I was hearing. Well, not that it was me. And that's going to be their easy out. Well, but one thing that I want to say, and I don't think that this comes down, I don't think even Roddy White's comment was that Ryan Pace specifically was basing it off race. I think he was more so saying the Chicago Bears organization, which is ridiculous because does anybody remember who our head coach was from 2004 to, through the 2012 season? It was Lovie Smith.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't know how you're going to pick and choose things like that. We also made Khalil Mack the highest paid defensive player in NFL history. Gave up 2 first-round picks for him. So,
it's just,
I'm not going to buy any of the race stuff. But what Aldo said, it's the walk-off. And like I said, this is obviously a volatile subject, and it absolutely should be because we're all in today's times. We know what happens. We know that this is a legitimate issue. But what Aldo said wrapped it up perfectly. And like I said, this is going to be our lightning show, and we want to get onto the schedule. So let's transition to that.
Let's do that. We're going to talk about week 1. Thank you to the ChicagoBears.com for the use of their graphics.
Could have done without them.
Don't like them at all.
Yeah, we don't get the whole mascot emoji thing. We rather go back to the superhero thing. That was much better.
I would rather them put a helmet up and said Bears versus Lions week 1. Exactly. Would have been better. This is horrible.
Aldo, remember the ABC after school special? I was saying to Shane, it's like, remember Davy and Goliath? And, hey, Davy. It's like, it's so 1986.
It really is.
It is. It looks like something my kid's in 3rd grade. It looks like something, stay at home schooling. It looks like something that he would come up with.
It's like PBS had a cartoon.
Yeah.
And they're trying to teach kids the game of football that are toddlers.
That's exactly what it is. It's like they're trying to get the young audience, but whatever. Let's talk about this week 1 game. I couldn't think of a better opponent to start the season with. This is the Detroit Lions team that the Bears have played very well against under the Matt Nagy era. 4-0 in his 2 seasons coaching against this team. So this has to be looked at as a win, despite the fact that the Lions have done some things to improve their team, but nothing substantial. I mean, what have they done? They've added Chase Daniel as their backup quarterback, and they replaced Darius Slay with Jeffrey Okuda. That's a slight upgrade, but you guys both have to feel that this is a winnable game, right, Phil?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm excited about you start off with a rival, one with which you've really handled very well every time you face them.
One who Mitch has handled very well.
Yes, he played one of his best games, Shane, last year against the Lions. In fact, that was the live show with my dad on. And I remember it well because he turned to me at the end of that game. He's like, you got to be proud of this young kid right here. And he's talking about Mitch Trubisky. Growth, you can't have it every way, but in this way, this is the perfect team that you kick off a redirection, or as Greg would say, obviously he's MIA today. We did call Greg. We did text Greg. Greg is busy somewhere. I don't know.
Weighing fruit.
He's on a diet. So he's got some arguments with the significant other in regards to how many calories he could spend today. I don't know. But that being said, the Bears have an opponent where I feel as though they have a very good understanding and to course correct your coach who's learning. This would be a great game to go out there and set the tone in what you have learned and how you're going to attack them. And I just think Khalil Mack, Robert Quinn opening day, I don't know, in a pandemic without football, and I'm watching old highlights and cutting tape of free agents now for the new tape Never Lies that'll come out soon. I just can't wait to see these guys get down to it on opening day against the Lions. Shane, I thought you were going in there.
Yeah, I'm sorry. No, I agree. I love the fact that it's this is something that I talked about last year heading into week 1. I put out a tweet, and I think that this is going to be a decisive game, season defining game 1, because let's be honest, this has been a different offseason for the Bears, and I think it's important. Week 1, you're on the road. It's a division rival, Phil, like you said, and you can really make your statement. The Bears came out on fire last year on defense, and they looked fantastic against Green Bay. Could not get the offense going. And if you look back to that game, it really defined the entire season, how it went. And I think that this Detroit game can too. I think if you can go on the road and hang one on Detroit week 1, I think it's we all say that you get a little bit of confidence in the beginning, especially with this team, and it can really start to snowball for you. So I think it's a perfect scenario for Chicago to go into Detroit and continue their success. And if Mitch is the guy, you have to feel confident there too, because Mitch has had some fantastic games against Detroit.
Yes, I think Robert Quinn was a huge addition. Yes, I think the Chicago Bears and Ryan Pace need to be on the phone as we're broadcasting right now with Warford and trying to get him into Chicago, because that kind of talent on the offensive line is critical. Even if you already have an Affetti, you can never have.
You mean Warford, not Andrews Pete, right, Phil?
Right. It's not Andrews Pete, according to other networks, using highlights of wrong players to say. Anyway, to each his own. Warford, for me, is you got to get him in here, and that's one of those sneaky late signings that you get, that stabilizing force that fits your system, that knows what you want to do, is a steady veteran who's Pro Bowl caliber football player. It reminds me of Reuben Brown when the Bears picked him.
Yeah, it's a great comp. Yep.
And
under the radar.
Buffalo thought he was done. He comes here and just stabilized the offensive line that ended up going to the Super Bowl, Aldo. And that's the kind of move that your GM needs to make here. So answering a few of their questions as they go.
Absolutely. And there was a question about who is going to be the starting quarterback. I think the three of us are all in agreement with Trubisky, right?
I believe Trubisky's going to come out the winner. I don't know where Shane is, but that's my belief.
I just don't. I don't think that I'll be completely honest. I don't think that the coaching staff believes. I don't think that they're all in on Mitch. So to me, from the coaching staff point of view, I think that it's going to be Foles.
Here's what I think. I think that there is going to be a true quarterback competition with the leaning that it's 51% Mitchell's job because of his familiarity with the offense, because the high investment in him, and so he's going to be on a very short leash, and he could even not be the starter in week 1 if during the preseason he's throwing interceptions and just pathetic. But I do think that there is, a feeling by the Bears organization, Ryan Pace first and foremost, and Matt Nagy, that Mitch hopefully will win this job and Foles is going to be the backup. They have to look at it that way, because if Mitchell fails and then Foles is the starting quarterback, he's not a number 1 quarterback in the NFL. The whole
he's a spot starter.
Yeah.
He's what you want as a spot starter.
His record, it was so funny. They were putting them next to each other. Mitch has like 6 starts, 43, and he's got 12 starts in his career. And we've been down this road, Rob Johnson, Matt Flynn, and all of these quarterbacks, fucking Mike Glennon, for God's sake, you're being sold.
What are you doing, Jacksonville? What are you doing?
Blake Bortles and others that have listen, if politics are not involved and you just hit the ground running and say, we're going to let the best man win, you and your team are going to be better off for it. And I think Mitch will win that job. I've seen enough tape. Again, the Occam's razor that Shane is putting out there is Mitch the studier. That tells me those quotes way back when the combine was started, when coach says he better know this shit better than I do. That was directly at Mitch. So, the ball's in Mitch's court now. He has the responsibility to do what the coach is asking, know it better than him and everybody else. Yeah. And if he doesn't do it, like I said, fuck a Mitch. Then Nick Foles comes in and whatever happens, happens. But you can't play politics.
And one thing that I think is a huge benefit to Mitch is what's going on in the world. There's no mini camps, no OTAs, anything like that. So you know that Foles comes in knowing the offense. There's going to be some subtleties that are different, obviously through Matt Nagy. But what does Mitch have going for him is that he already knows what Allen Robinson likes. He knows when Anthony Miller, does something, what is going to lead next. It's the camaraderie. It's the, being able to just look at a guy and say, all right, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Foles isn't there. And that is a big deal. That's a huge deal. It's, when you're on the offensive line, you have to know everybody's steps and, what they're going to be doing before they do it. Mitch has that. Foles does not. And I think that that's a huge plus in Mitch's column. I just think at the end of the day, I think that Nick Foles is Matt Nagy's handpicked guy that was available. And I think that that's a huge up Foles sleeve.
We move on to week 2, September 20th. It is some weird-looking mascot. I don't know what the hell that is, but it is the New York Giants coming to Soldier Field. This is the home opener. Now, hopefully, there'll be 60,000 fans and nobody wearing masks and everybody happy that the virus has gone away. But whatever the scenario is, hopefully we at least have a game that we can root for. And the Bears, in my opinion, should get off to a 2-0 start. This Giants team is showing some improvements with the additions that they've made to their roster, but I do not believe that team has a roster that can compete with the Chicago Bears. I don't care if the offense is still not at 100% at that point of the season. This defense should control the second-year quarterback, Daniel Jones. The Giants offensive line is young and still a work in progress, and the wide receiver core is nothing at all to be afraid of. The only one that can beat you on that roster is Saquon Barkley, and hopefully the Bears have learned their lesson after that.
And Bleacher Report's Matt Miller called this Week 2 matchup the Toilet Bowl. The two worst teams in the NFL will be matching up.
Yeah, well, we all know about Matt Miller and that's how he is. So.
Yeah, him on and like confront. It could some of our barflies reach out to him and say, "Can you go on Bears 100 Proof and talk to our guys? Because you always run your mouth. You're like a little stank bitch. He really is. He's the worst. I've never. How you could pick the Bears as the 31st best team in the league is crazy, beyond crazy to me. But what's that director who did the Halloween Christmas thing? Tim Burton. These little characters remind me of a Tim Burton. You know what I'm saying?
I don't get what they're like. Who's signing off on it? I saw it and I thought it was some sort of I thought that there was at least going to be something funny in it along the way. And I kept on watching it. I'm like, oh man, this is getting progressively worse.
The guy who produces it is a hip hop new video guy.
Yeah, and he's a Chicago guy, right? I believe
this is I don't give a shit who you are. This is a ball drop. This is the NFL. This is football. This isn't fucking romper room.
That is
little Timmy and George. It's like
that's something that you would expect out of English soccer. Sorry, Burlissimo.
Yes, soccer.
There's gonna be an 8 hour bar room special that Acevedo is gonna host, talking about the garments that those guys are wearing on that schedule release. So it's gonna tune in. Don't miss it.
Check out the swag shop.
Exactly. All right. Any quick comments on the Giants? Should we move on to week number 3, where things start to get a little more interesting? It is the Atlanta Falcons. We go to Atlanta at Mercedes-Benz Stadium and face the Falcons. Guys, does this game on the schedule scare you at all? Phil, why don't you begin?
No, I'm not a big believer in Matt down there.
Yeah.
Matty Ice Cubes. And they have Julio Jones, but I'd never seen any consistency in that football team. I mean, even in the Super Bowl where they're up, what were they up 28 points and lose the game? Any quarterback worth their weight takes and reins in that team. Here's a guy that's got a lot of Mayock love because he went to BC. I've never seen it in the kid. He's a good quarterback, journeyman type that's solid. But other than you got Julio Jones coming down with footballs, and at that time you had Sanu, and now you got who else? You got Ridley's brother over there who's been tremendous. So and they did draft another receiver, right, from Alabama this year. Didn't they get another kid from Bama? But they got a third kid.
I should have had that in front of me.
No, I don't think so.
No,
they went corner, right, in the first round. Didn't they go corner?
They did get, as Zimmerman is saying, thank you, Zimmerman, Gurley, who's a Georgia boy coming home. So that's going to be interesting. That's a good football player. But the Bears have really stuffed the run on people. One underrated thing about this football team, everyone talks about Khalil Mack, is Khalil Mack's ability to stop the run with Eddie Goldman. You've seen Akeem Hicks. If you haven't seen him on social media, 9 reps at 325 pounds. With
no elbow brace. That was the first time with no elbow brace. So I think that's significant. Yeah.
He's got no spot. He's just that's heavy weight right there.
One thing that I think is important too with these first 3 games, or the first 2 out of the 3 games, is week 1, week 3. Yeah. Bears are playing on a fast track, and I think that that's significant for this defense because it absolutely does. When you look at a guy like Robert Quinn, who's used to playing on that artificial surface, I think that that's going to provide him the opportunity to get off to a fast start. And I think that's exactly what Chicago needs, because he's the guy playing opposite Mac, where you leave him one-on-one with a guy where Leonard Floyd couldn't win. Robert Quinn is going to win more times than not. And that's going to –
you got the young kid. I really am excited about Gibson.
Yeah, me too. But I wouldn't –
the rookie defensive end,
I wouldn't undersell the playing surface here early in the season, because you don't sleep on a guy like Mooney, coming in and pop. I'm not going to say he's going to, have 10 catches, but he's a guy that might come out of nowhere. And you look down, he's got, 1 reception for 65 yards and a touchdown, against Atlanta. And that is significant, because speed kills. When you're inside, it's even more pronounced.
People are wondering where the chatterbaiter is. He is taking the day off. We think we don't really know. He hasn't been in contact with us. Wherever he is, we wish him well. And let's move on now. Week number 4, where we have the Chicago Bears and Indianapolis Colts at Soldier Field. Boy, oh boy, I believe that at this point of the season, we're looking at 4-0. I said this on Draft on Tap. I filled in for Ryan Badgley, and I said this schedule is so damn favorable for the first quarter of the season. I totally expect to be either 3-1 or 4-0. I love the way this schedule lays out for early in the season. The only thing that can stop the Chicago Bears from being 4-0 is the Chicago Bears. What do you guys think?
Totally step for step with you there, Aldo. I think this is an opportunity on these surfaces to be 4-0. You got to expect that. You need to beat those NFC teams to begin the season: Detroit, the Giants, and the Falcons. Then you go and you play the Colts. You got Phillip Rivers. You had him in your hip pocket last year. The coach refused to move the field goal kicker up, if you remember correctly. 0 chance of running. And otherwise you beat, him with the Chargers. He's getting used to a new bunch of guys in Indy. So it's going to be very interesting. I see the Bears definitely handling the Colts. And I'd be shocked. I expect 4-0. Like, looking at these opponents, like, realistically, that's what I would expect based on paper.
People, Shane, before you answer that question, people are asking, where's your swag? Where's your man cave? And Shane probably has the nicest man cave I've ever seen in my life. Right,
that's
Shane?
At his old house.
I did. Yeah, that's at my I still own that house, but I don't live there anymore. Yeah,
you haven't sold it yet?
No, it's not for sale. I haven't sold it, but yeah, I had pretty kick-ass place. But yeah, we moved, and this is our new place, and this is just in my little tiny office, and I have a huge basement downstairs that will be under construction for the new man cave, but it hasn't happened yet. So that's why you see this stripped down.
He looks office. Like he's in like the front room of his house, like a dining room.
Yeah, next to the foyer.
Yes, the foyer is behind him. You could see, like, any moment a UPS driver is going to deliver something.
Oh, I thought you were going to
UPS doesn't deliver, Phil. You know that.
They don't. I'm still pissed at these motherfuckers. God, I can't get away.
Hey, Shane, your thoughts on that Colts game, week 4?
No, it's another, veteran quarterback on the schedule, and that's another thing that you can't undersell. Any given Sunday, and I'm not a big believer in Phillip Rivers. I think that the Bears had him where they wanted last year against the Chargers, but it's not like the next week. I do fear that guy a little bit more. It's going to be coming in week 5, but no, the Colts do have a lot of talent, and This is going to be the Aldo Gandia Bowl, and we'll see how far Quentin Nelson can take these guys and how many touchdowns and interceptions he's going to have.
It'll be interesting.
All right, we move on now to week 5. We have with us, what the hell is that? That's the Tampa Bay Bucks.
What is that? Not a pirate?
Yeah,
What a pirate?
That's Tom Brady.
Tom Brady, who has been in
Oh
jail.
my God. It looks like Fat Mike running for another set of wings. Look at him. Hold on, I'm going to the kitchen.
But
What
this,
is that?
I don't know what it is, but it ain't.
Oh my God.
This will be the hot ticket, though. Week 5, a Thursday night game at Soldier Field. Tom Brady and his Bucks come in to get their asses kicked by the Chicago Bears again. I mean, I know I am being glass half full here, but again, I feel really, really good about the Bears' chances here. And in fact, if this truly is a playoff team, they've got to got teams like the Tampa Bay Bucks. The Tampa Bay Bucks are going to present some problems. They've got great wide receivers. They got a quarterback who, has won Super Bowls, but this is not a quarterback who looked like the Tom Brady of Super Bowl years last season. There was definite regression. And so I don't know, Shane, how do you feel about this? Am I being too hopeful?
I never am going to say that this guy is done. I mean, to me, he's just one of those things. To me, this could be a game that everybody's going to look at and say, oh, here we go. Brady's going to get his. And to me, this is a statement game for the Chicago Bears. You get to that point and you want to make your statement here to the world, everybody's going to be tuned in to Sunday Night Football. And unfortunately, Chicago, usually in those situations, you see more of a meltdown, or you see the quarterback, fumbling the football or throwing picks. And if you're going to start this season hot, you can't lay down on a primetime game, because what this game in week 5 would do, say if the Bears start 3-1, 4-0, or whatever, and then you're heading into this statement game. This is where you put your name on the fucking map. Yeah. This is where you say, all right, fuck you, Matt Miller. Fuck you, Evan Silva. Fuck you, Jason LaCanfora. We're back. 2019 was a figment of everybody's imagination. There's a lot of shit going back. Chicago's back. We're going to go. We got a better field goal kicker. We're not going to have the double doink. We got a better defense. We got, we've upgraded. This is the statement game for the beginning of the season that's going to funnel you to the rest of your schedule. And it's what you want. You want to face the fucking GOAT and knock him off his perch. That's what you want. You have the horses to do it. You have the pass rushers. You go after Tom Brady. How do you beat the Patriots? Back in the day when Brady was there, you punish the quarterback. You don't sit back and let him pick you apart. You come after him and you knock him on his ass. The Bears have the horses to do it. Hopefully, Pagano realizes that and does it, because to me, this is the one that you fucking circle. You put all the stars next to it and say, this is where we get back on track on a national basis, where we can tell everybody, fuck you, we're coming to get what's ours.
I don't think I can add anything to it. I think Shane did a sermon there. Could give us a lower third to update the audience of who we are right now.
Oh, so he's going to direct now.
See how he is, Aldo?
We're learning as we go here.
Yes.
And don't let Aldo fool you. That's not a Khalil Mack jersey. That's a Brian Cox jersey. He just needs the neck roll.
Imagine
No,
there it is.
You're supposed to sell them on it. People in the chat room are going to.
I have that same jersey. Are they going to wear these jerseys this year? Or is that 1 year wonder? That's it.
I don't know.
Because I love that jersey. That style. When they came out in the uniform with the socks and everything, I thought they looked so sharp. And I'm a huge not only am I a huge, it didn't work because I have my freaking Bluetooth on, but I had a Dan huge motherfucking barfly drop ready. But I'm just saying, I'm a huge fan of the 1940s navy with the orange and the blank helmet. But I really think this jersey that you have on was one of the sharpest jerseys I've ever seen the Bears wear. It really was.
Yeah, outstanding.
Anyway, next game, what do we got?
Well, before we do that, I want to make sure that people know that. Hold on a second. Jesus Christ!
What a trick! There he is.
I am here.
This is Aldo Gandia.
There it is. That's the scroll I wanted to get.
Of course, there's one typo.
That's a typo. That says anal cyst, not anal.
What essay am I? Hey, essay. Hey, I went to school to do this too, Aldo.
I know you did.
And then my paths went a different way, but now that we're back, look at this.
All right.
Oh my God.
Look, it's week 6.
It gets worse and worse.
Idaho, kids.
It is like Bill. Remember that Saturday Night Live skit? We can. Hi, boss. I'm the Panther from Carolina.
That's right. It is Panthers week 6. Boy, oh boy, would they have a new head coach? Who's the new head coach? Oh, Matt
Rule.
Matt Rule.
Yeah,
$70 million man.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. He is a well regarded. He made a splash with his opening press conference, but he still doesn't have the players on the field to compete against the Chicago Bears. At this point of the schedule, I'm looking at an undefeated team. You want me to get rid of that scroll? Is that what it is?
Distracting me. I didn't even see the lover in there. I didn't see.
You didn't. How do you miss that one?
I missed. Because I was focused on his grammatical essay, but it was what else? It was funny.
Yes, Ben. They are.
Yes, Ben.
Oh, you mean the Bears graphics? I thought you were talking about my.
No, I was talking about your mess up with else. This looks like essay, but he's also correct. These are the worst. Can I say this real quick? This guy, I'm not going to say his name, went ballistic over me calling out the Bears media department for this travesty of handling in a pandemic the excitement the fan base should have. Instead, we got, claymation characters that look childish and starts threatening people and going after Bears barroom and saying people aren't fans. Let me just say this real quick, and I promise it'll be 20 seconds. Our job as analysts is to say our truth, and that's what we do on 100 Proof, and that's what the fans expect us to do. It doesn't make me not like the Bears. I don't like the way they've handled the media relations and the excitement that goes along with announcing the schedule. I think it's pathetic and embarrassing. That's it.
There you go.
Thank you.
Zimmerman makes a good point about the quarterback situation. Shane, do you have any concerns at all about Teddy Bridgewater now being a quarterback, and given that he's a much more efficient quarterback than Cam Newton was, who was more reckless?
Well, anybody that says that they don't care about it should just go back to the Saints game last year, where he was very, very effective against this team. I mean, I know we're going to have some upgrades, but you can't deny it. Yeah, Zim's got to make a point. He's way different than what you are getting from Carolina in the past with Cam, because he's going to sit back there and he's not going to be as aggressive with a lot of things, but he can make plays. But he's another guy that you have to get after. And this is, I think the Bears have kind of tipped their hat a little bit in the direction of where they're going to go, because they wanted cranking up this pass rush was obviously a big part of what they wanted to do. And then when you back up in this defense into the secondary, the guys that they brought in are guys that know how to take away the football. They know that that's a key to what is going to they want to happen in this defense. They're going to pressure the quarterback. They're going to be relentless with that. And then they're going to have guys in the back end that can make the big plays, where we saw Eddie Jackson, where he could roam free and take away the football. Jalen Johnson is going to be a huge part of that. Even a guy like Vildor, if he makes this roster, is a guy that's got ball skills. All these guys that they brought in on the secondary have ball skills. And you got to get after these quarterbacks. You can't sit back. Imagine drafting, like Phil was saying, imagine with Leonard Floyd, a guy that you're dropping back into pass coverage, that you draft in the top 10. And there's people out there making comment, he can set the edge. Well, great. That's fantastic. That's not why you drafted him up there.
Drafted free agents. They all can set the edge too.
Yeah, exactly. So get after the quarterback, make Teddy make plays under duress. And I think that you'll see how the Bears can really make him pay for that.
Real quick, Aldo, I think one of the things that I need to owe this to this player is Buster Screen not only recruiting a Deshaun Gibson into I'm going to send the record. Shane knows how much I love Deshaun Gibson. Working on Never Lies with him, Jenkins, and just put a package, a potpourri, if you will, of free agents together. Might separate them so we can draw it out. I don't know. But need to say, Buster Screen, the football player, a lot of people don't realize how great this football player is. When I watch the tape of him, he doesn't get beat. He's physical. He's aware. He's trying to overcome or cover for others, I think, in his first year in the Pagano scheme. I just think you're going to see a tremendous upgrade there in the communication department with that other safety and that familiarity and that cohesiveness that he has with Gibson, who they're buddy. Like, that's like me and getting on the court together. I've never played with him, but I know him so much. There's something that I think you can't coach to get these guys on another level. I think that's going to be not only just like we talked about if they were to get Warford in town, I think getting Gibson here, he's a huge upgrade to HaHa Clinton Dix, and that relationship between him and Buster Screen is going to be something we're going to be talking about in this offseason. Is really exciting to me, to go along with what Shane's saying. That back end is going to take away the football.
Guys, we're going to move on here. Let me call up the next graphic. We have just played the Panthers and are undefeated for the season. And now we go to a Monday night game at Los Angeles against the LA Rams. Look at that emoji, whatever the hell that is. Holy cow, that's
oh my God.
I don't get it. But anyway,
that looks like the little stuffed animal that Greg Braggs used to drag around with him for 12 years that he used to beat the shit out of. But that's a story. That's a whole nother show.
Yes, it is.
These things look like amusement park. What are they? Those
what's under? I mean, is that like some sort of a mad cow disease going on underneath his eyes? I don't get what the fuck that is.
He's got pimples. Oh, all right. So, Shane, we'll start with you. What do you think about the Bears at LA? This, to me, is the biggest test of the season to date. Your thoughts?
Well, I would put Tampa up there. I think Tampa's more of a statement game than LA is, to me. Just because of, the newness and Tampa's getting a lot of hype and Sunday night at Soldier Field. But yeah, in terms of the Rams, the Rams are a team. If the Bears can go into this healthy, the blueprint is out there on how you beat these guys. You're physical with them, and again, you get after the quarterback. I would like it if it was a little bit later in the season, and obviously in Chicago with the weather and stuff, but it's not. But I do agree, Aldo, that it can be a statement game because any road game in the NFL is really a statement game because you can make, you want to win all your home games and you want to split on the road. So every road game that you get pushes you down that road a little bit more. But it's, to me, the Rams are in a bit of a transition here. They have so much turnover. If you look at their roster from when they made the Super Bowl, there's a ton of guys that aren't there anymore, and they're totally fixed in and locked in on Goff just because of the contract that he's got. Right. And the Bears have the personnel. This defense, you can say what you want about the Bears offense. There's going to be growing pains. There's going to be struggles, obviously. This defense is good enough to win you games if the Bears don't get crazy on offense and do stupid things. And they can be consistent running the football and have this upgraded offensive line. That's why Phil's point of bringing in a guy like Warford could be such an underrated, huge get to this team. It's a guy that you weren't planning on being there. And one underrated thing that I don't think we should forget about is that Trey Burton being the post June 1st guy. So you're going to be getting more money under the cap June 1st that the Bears can dump into Warford because he's not going to be a guy that's cheap. But no, it is a statement game in terms of, like I said, it being a road game. But I just look at the Rams and they have talent. To me, they're a lot like Minnesota. They have talent. They have a veteran quarterback, but they're not a team that scares me.
Yeah, because the quarterback.
Yep, that's what it comes down to.
His number is known, and he hates Khalil Mack, and he hates to get hit.
And I think he hates Akeem Hicks too.
He loves to boot out and be, out on that perimeter, deciding and throwing those waggles and the boot action off the zone game. So, his number. He's not a threat. And Shane's point, Minnesota, perfect example. We're doing this as an exercise. On paper, we're looking at these teams and how they match up differently than the national narrative. We know this roster and we know these other teams, and we're looking at it realistically. We're not including, because let's grade the draft. Let's strength of schedule. This is what we should win. But looking at these games individually, you're saying the Bears should win this game if all are healthy and everything of that, based on the matchups you like. So obviously coaching is going to go into this. That's where last call comes in, because I see some of the comments. What's up, Rick Riggs? I see this. We're looking at these games and their matchups and what should happen based on great coaching. And that'll be the story of when it happens. And that's what makes this game so great. And looking at this, you have the remedy to what ails the Los Angeles Rams, and led by one Jared Goff. What's the next game?
Move on now to the 8th game of the season. Plus, I'm going to let everybody know that this will be the last game we will evaluate on this specials that we reviewed the schedule, because we were going to go 45 minutes. Of course, we've gone twice.
Save it for Wednesday.
So, is it Wednesday? Is that when we'll do it?
We could come again, but we're trying to let you know this is the kind of stuff that we were talking about in the town hall. We're going to come on your Patreon. This is the stuff you're going to get interaction, like Rick Riggs saying, "What's up?" I could see that now. The Bears have Goff's number, Janowski. That's 100% right. They have Whitworth. Yes, Aaron, they do. Whitworth has been manhandled. We get to this game coming up. Look at this guy. Perfect segue. And talking about Patreon and everything, week 9. Is that the next game right here?
It is. Let me just
Perfect to end on this at the halfway mark, and then we'll come back again and
No,
surprise
we're the
you.
Saints. The Saints.
We're
We're
at the
gonna
Saints.
we're gonna end at the Saints. You got to leave them hanging
gotta-
for
you gotta-
Nashville. We got lots to talk about.
We're
with
going to
that.
talk about Nashville. You could say that we are planning a special meet and greet in Nashville if there's fans.
just a game.
This
Oh,
is it. That's a Saint.
that's the Browns, isn't it? Looks like the Browns. Yeah, it's the Browns.
It's a Saint. It says New
Yeah, I don't
Orleans
get it.
there. Oh, when the Saints.
That dog is on an acid trip too. Look at his eyes.
My
Good Lord.
God.
The pupils are dilated in one eye and the other
How is anybody defending this? Because you know what you get when you go to the stadium? That on the cover of your seat with the roster behind it. So this is going to be. I have one here. Hold on, Aldo. I want to show the audience. Bring it to me.
Okay.
Look at this.
Hold on. Let me
Well,
get-
here's
yeah.
Bears versus Packers.
Yeah.
December 16th, when we won the NFC North. I have it right here. See this? There's
Mhm.
your boy, Akeem Hicks.
That's right.
This is on every seat. And then on the back of it is the roster, the starters, the schedule, blah, blah, blah. My son spilled some coffee on it. So what you're going to get are, go ahead back to the graphic, Aldo. You're going to get a piece of paper on your seat with a dog that's a Saint. How is it a Saint?
They made a mistake. That's clearly the Browns.
Oh my God. I would say it was a Brown.
Yeah, and let me get rid of the comment there. But it is clearly a mistake by the great graphics team over at ChicagoBears.com. That is the Browns mascot, not the Saints.
Holy shit, they fucked up.
Yeah, but so we are talking about the Saints here. This is the 8th game. So this will end the first half of the season. Shane, your thoughts on this game? And then we'll get Phil's, and then we'll conclude our show.
A lot of veteran quarterbacks. I mean, it's hard not to love Drew Brees and their head coach because they do what we want Matt Nagy to do. You know, they're going to adjust on the fly. If they have to run the ball to beat you, that's what they're going to do. If they have to come up with some exotic plays on offense, that's what they're going to do.
Right.
When I talk about the Rams are a lot like the Minnesota Vikings and they're a team that doesn't scare me, the Saints are a team that give me pause because everything starts at the top. And when you're coming at me with Sean Payton and Drew Brees, yeah, you have my attention. Believe me, they're a fantastic team. And I like what the Saints have done this offseason. They've made some moves. They've geared up, and I think that this is one of those games that if the Bears can play well, I mean, it's something that can push them down this road where we want to go. But the Saints are legit to me. I mean, they really are. I realize that Drew Brees is older, but man, that offense just can. They can dictate and do what they want to do because they can rip the heart out of you any way they want to. And to me, they're always a team that is going to be in contention for the Super Bowl the way that they're constructed because it starts up at the top with Peyton and with Drew Brees. And man, that's an awful lot of firepower on that team. And I know that they've lost some guys on defense, but I think bringing Malcolm Jenkins back is huge. He was a guy that I would have been happy as hell if the Bears brought in because he's not Eddie Jackson, but he's a fierce competitor and he's a fierce leader. He's a guy that's going to make sure that he's got a lot of Mike Brown qualities in terms of leadership, and he's the perfect director back there on that defense. And he's going to make sure that everybody's in the right place and doing the right thing. And this is, I mean, if I'm never going to bet against the Bears ever, that's just not who I am. But if there was a game that is going to give me serious pause, it's this one right here with the Saints.
Yeah, I'm going to piggyback on him here. You have the Holy Trinity there.
Yeah.
You have the quarterback. You got one of the real true definitive head coach play callers in the NFL. A guy, that not only learned on the job, but defined his own character on the job and what he did, handling, what was it? What was the drama down there where they threatened people? He had the defensive coordinator. What did they call it? Gate?
Yeah, Williams was a defensive coordinator, and they were headhunting players like Brett Favre and so forth.
Yeah, they had that whole drama where a head coach had to sit out, was suspended for games. He comes back from that. Bounty Gate. Thank you, Andrew Tarble. Shout out to you. I love that dude, Andrew Tarble. Anyway, deserved a shout out. No shout outs today. But
thank God.
But you have the Holy Trinity there. The Mickey Loomis. You saw him doing the things in the draft that they said they do continuously do. Trade up, get their guys. They got another.
Speaking of that, Phil, did you see? They were talking about the Saints. That they drafted the quarterback. Aldo, do you have the? Can you bring up their draft picks real quick? The Saints.
The Saints. Where do I have that?
You don't. He wants to know.
No, I didn't know if you could look it up real quick. Who they drafted a quarterback in round 7. It was the kid from Mississippi State. I'm blanking on his name.
And Stevens, is that his name?
Is it Tommy Stevens? Is that what it is?
Yes.
Okay, so Carolina was all set, had a undrafted free agent contract with him agreed to.
Right.
And the draft was still going on. Well, the Saints lost a coach to Carolina. He's actually Carolina's offensive coordinator under Matt Rule. They wanted Tommy Stevens, and obviously Carolina agreed to him with a UDFA deal. Well, Sean Payton found out about it. The Saints didn't have a pick in round 7, so he said, well, watch this, just to kind of give his old offensive coordinator it wasn't he wasn't pissed off at him. He just wanted to mess with him a little bit. So Sean Payton traded into the 7th round with a 2021 6th rounder and drafted the kid that Carolina had a deal worked out with as an undrafted free agent, and New Orleans drafted him.
That's the kind of stuff that defines franchise. You see talent, you want it, you get it.
Yeah, and
Tony about it with Danucci.
Right.
They wanted him, the Bears, and instead they took, and I know you're going to talk about Tony. And this
Pauline said that's
the offensive lineman, right?
Yeah, Hambright and Simmons both. The Bears wanted to sign them as undrafted free agents, and their agents told them that they already had deals in place with another team. So Ryan Pace just said, all right, yeah, we'll get them. We'll draft them back to back. So
his philosophy was offensive linemen that they wanted. So we'll see how that plays out. We'll see Danucci. We'll see what he does. But the reality is Mickey Loomis, Sean Payton, and Drew Brees there have been have been unbelievable. And Deshaun said it perfectly. I think I'll just put a bow on this and say, this is where you define who you are. Right at the halfway point is the perfect time to say, you beat the GOAT. You came in hard. You stepped up in the pocket. You delivered. Now you continue through that and you define yourself. And let's just face it. When I look at this football team, the Chicago Bears, I see a defense. I see a defensive football team that you could build a championship with. There's no denying that. So any asshole who has a pen or a typewriter, computer, whatever they're doing these days to blog like Matt Miller and thinks that this team, based on that defense, is going to finish 31st, then that's really a neglect in not only analysis, but football acumen. I really think this is the defining moment of your defense, because this football team, the Saints, have a Super Bowl caliber team as a whole. Their offense is ready to rock and roll, and they got a great defense led by their, great pass rusher there. So this is the game where you define who you are, and seasons are defined in those moments that you can actually overcome. And This is the tough one. This is the one game where you're like, oh, this team is better on paper than you might be. So your best have to, shine in those moments.
This is the close of our show. Let's go around for some quick, not shout outs, Shane.
Shout out, Shane.
This show couldn't get any better. There's been very limited Phil songs, no shout outs. Greg Braggs isn't here, getting caught on camera, being like,
God damn it, Aldo! I told you, Aldo.
He did reach out to us and apologize that he was busy dealing with some stuff. So he wanted to come on, but I said, we're actually wrapping up. If you come on, we'll be on for another hour. So next time we will have the chatterbaiter, Greg Braggs. We love you, Greg.
Absolutely. We do.
But everybody set their notifications. Bears Bar Room on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Twitter. Make sure your notifications are turned on, and everybody go to Bears Bar Room Pub on Facebook. Click like, become an active member in there, and make sure your notifications are ready to go and fired up, because you never know when we're going to pop up. We're not going to announce a lot of these.
That's right. That's a great closing comment, Shane. And Phil, what do you got as a closing comment?
Oh, I'm just excited. You could see what we're doing here. Just to redouble down on this, this is what we're talking about in regards to Patreon and supporting us so we could pay the bills to do this and help make this the best. We already have a product that you all love. We heard you. That's why we said it's time to go to the next level. So help us go to that next level. Go to the Bears Bar Room page on Facebook, also on Twitter at Bears Bar Room. Bears Bar Room Pub is a place that Shane and I are going to frequent often. And like Shane said, subscribe. Make sure you got your notices on in regards to YouTube and everything. And we're going to be breaking stuff down all throughout the off season, getting you ready. Talking Bears in the pandemic, Aldo. It's unbelievable. I'm proud of my sons. We were playing outside beforehand, and I said, we're going to go live, so I need you to be quiet. So they've been pretty good up there. A couple hip tosses I could hear about.
All right. I just want to close the show by saying Happy Mother's Day to everyone out there. And a very special thanks to the guys at the Bears Bar Room, because they did something very, very special for a certain someone that I'm happen to be married to. And she had this message for you guys.
Hi, guys. I just wanted to say thank you so much for the lovely flowers that I got today. That was really special to me, and I really appreciate everything that you guys do for the Bears Bar Room, and appreciate the fact that you're taking this journey with Aldo. So thanks, everyone, and have a great Mother's Day to all you mothers out there.
She refused to be on camera for that because she was teary-eyed at the beautiful flowers that you guys sent her. So she is very, very appreciative. Those were her words and not mine. And I'm very appreciative to be teamed up with you guys, and your generosity always, always moves me. So thank you very much, guys. And happy Mother's Day to your wives. Happy Mother's Day to your moms. Happy Mother's Day to all of our Barflies listeners, followers, everyone who's got a mom, everybody who's married to a mom. Happy Mother's Day. We love you all. Thank you again for teaming with us to make Bears Bar Room the very special organization that it is growing into. So we'll talk to you soon. All right.
Bye.
Happy Mother's Day, everybody. All the mothers.
Barb Graham, I'm coming, baby. Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Motherfuckers Day. So the podcast is out there.